Well, mate, I've got to say we are very, very excited about this tour that's coming up. Tell us a little bit about how you guys are feeling about it at the moment.
Um, we're definitely a little anxious, as I think is sort of to just be expected anytime you go somewhere for the first time. Because not only have we never been to Australia, but I don't know if you guys know this, you are not near a lot of other stuff.
No.
So we have sort of no idea what to expect, but expectations are kind of high because I've always, obviously you guys have a huge metalcore culture that goes back, you know, the last 20 years. So like the community is there for sure. It's established, but I think we're all curious to see how how it is for us.
Yep. How does that change things for you when you're coming to a country that you've never been to before or you've never played in front of your fans here? How does that change things for you as the way you approach the shows?
Um, I don't know if it changes too much as far as what is required of us, so to speak, like performance wise, or what we're going to try to offer these people. Um, we try to not get into our heads too much about because obviously it's happened. You play somewhere for the first time and you're like, oh, no one really gave a shit. Okay, that's fine. Then you come back two, three more times and you retain people. They bring friends. New people come and check you out, and everything's fine.
Yep.
Um, but with something like Australia, it's not like Europe where I'm going to hop on a plane two, three times a year because it's like a 12-hour flight and then I'm there. It's a little more involved than that.
Yep.
So, I don't, at least I don't know of bands that hit Australia multiple times a year. So, this band has been a band for 10 years and we're finally going to go there for the first time. I don't think it'll be 10 more before we go again, but it might be a little while. So there's an expectation to be like, give the people there the best version of everything that we can.
Yep.
So we'll probably be just a bit hard on ourselves that way. Like,
Yeah.
try to really play perfect, try to really just make it as good as we can, which sounds like sometimes we play shows where we try to sound bad, which isn't the case, but there's times where I think we'll be more forgiving.
Yep.
Because sometimes you play a set and you're like, I could have done that better, but it's okay. We have another tour in 6 weeks. We're going to be back. Whereas this, it's like, it's got to be perfect. Because who knows?
Yep. Someone told me once, coming to a new country and playing, it's like when you go to meet a girlfriend or a boyfriend's parents for the first time. You know that it's going to be a long lasting effect, so you want it to be absolutely perfect. Is that how it's feeling for you?
Yeah, I think maybe just that honestly might be more stressful. Um, because obviously first impressions are huge. Um, but with that said, I think music's a little different where a lot of people are willing to be won over even if they didn't have a great first impression. Um, like we just put out our third LP.
Yep.
I promise there are people that didn't like the first two that liked the third one, and they were willing to check it out to see if it would be, their jam.
Yep.
So I think in general, music is a little more forgiving because you're allowed to mess up, so to speak, or just make stuff people don't like. But then they'll come back and they'll check it out.
Yep.
Um, I think if you mess up parents, you mess up parents forever. You're always going to be garbage to them.
Yeah. You mentioned your last album, Death is a Little More. It's an absolutely brilliant album. Does that fill you with a little bit more confidence that you're touring off the back of such a strong album that seemed to have been received quite well here as well?
Thank you. I mean, only slightly. I think no matter what, we're going to be super anxious going into the tour as a whole, the first show. Um, it's our first time there, so we're just, it's just going to be like passport around my neck, stupid American. Somebody help me. How do I do this? Was pretty much our first experience in Europe. At least there won't be like a language barrier. You guys just have, you know, a funny accent, and then we'll be chilling.
Yeah.
But you know, I've been playing video games with Australians for years. I think I have a particular talent at understanding even like the craziest of Australian accents, so I think I'll be fine. I'll be chilling.
Now I have to ask, as someone who loves gaming as well, what games are you into?
I'm a big RPG guy.
Yep.
I'm big, fireball, lightning bolt, dragon, sword, shit like that. That's where I made my first couple of Australian friends because little lore back in the day when World of Warcraft came out, you guys didn't have a server, so the best server people could play on was North America and East Coast. So
Yep.
I would make Australian friends that were on like a 12, 14-hour time difference because it was the only place for them to play. I actually still talk to one of them, so I'm hoping to meet him for the first time when we go to Australia.
Oh, that's awesome. So the 12-hour flight over, am I picking up that there might be some handheld gaming going on that 12-hour flight?
Oh, it's completely possible. Before our last tour, I actually bought a laptop because it was just like, not that I hate handhelds, but like the games that I play don't really lend themselves to handhelds too well. Like if anything, I would use like a Bluetooth controller or something. But yeah, pretty much everyone in the band has a Steam Deck at this point. They love them. I don't have one. Like I said, I just got a laptop, but I'll probably bring that. Anything to get through the insane travel day that is going to be getting to you guys.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and you notice that here in Australia as well. It's like when you travel anywhere in Australia, like if you're going overseas, it's like you always have to prepare yourself for that 6-hour flight or that 12-hour flight. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, no, there's nothing's right around the corner.
Nah. So, bringing it back to your last album, what I loved about the last album was just the raw emotion that was on that album. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about Death Is a Little More, what it meant to you guys, and how you got that real raw emotion sound with that album.
Um, I think the sound we all kind of pre-agreed upon before we ever got to the studio, what we were going for. We wanted to do what we were calling like the scary record. We wanted it to have that edge to it. So production-wise, we communicated all of that to our producer, Randy LaBeouf, and he was on board immediately. We came with examples of kind of production styles we wanted to do. We wanted it to be a little cleaner in some aspects, but also a little muddier, a little dirtier in other aspects. I kind of only know how to write about emotional stuff. I think that lends itself to me not really being a musician. I never really planned on writing songs. It's just that I was always writing, and they would become songs. So I'm a bit of a one-trick pony. I sort of only know how to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there will ever be a Boundaries record that isn't, to some effect, an emotional record. I also think that's just kind of the music I like to make. I'm not really interested in just like making stuff for the sake of making it because it's heavy or whatever.
Yep. You mentioned your power there is in writing. Is that something that you've done your whole life, or is it something that you kind of developed a little bit later on?
At least since I was a teenager. I think it's just something I gravitated towards. Not having, it's something that comes at the recommendation of, hey, do you not really have a lot of people in your life to talk to? Try writing,
Yep.
Getting the thoughts out one way or another was always super helpful to me. Journaling has always been something that I would pick up and drop throughout my life. Sometimes it would be every day for 3 months. Sometimes it would be once a week. But I'm always writing, and it just is something that stuck with me. Even now, to where it's like I don't necessarily need it as much. I have a great support system. I have great people in my life. But it's still, I think, important to like practice the muscle of talking to yourself.
Yep. We talked about what a powerful album that last album is. How have those tracks been going live since you guys have been playing them live?
They've been great. I mean, it's a little tough with it. You know, it came out while we were on tour, so we've done more or less. We've done 2 tours with it out. One was a headliner, so you know, people that were going were there for us, more or less. So, like, it was easy. Um, you know, they already know the songs. Whereas, like, we just got home from a tour a week ago where we were 2 of 4, and that was a little different. Um, because obviously, a good chunk of the people that are at the show are there for all different bands. So, we got to see how those songs affect people that have never heard of us before. And even then, it's felt great. You know, I feel like we wrote something that each part of it could lend itself to a very different listener.
Yeah.
So really, just depending on how we build the set list, we can make something that can kind of fit whatever type of tour we would be on.
Yep. Writing from such a personal space like you do you find that a lot of people out there come up to you after shows and say, hey, this track spoke to me in this way, or hey, this track that you wrote years ago helped me get through a tough time in my life? Do you find that happens very often?
Yeah, all the time.
And how do you deal with that? Like, is that something that you enjoy talking to people about, or how does that make you feel?
It can be a bit much at times, just because I think people are very ready to give me credit for their success, which is not something I'm super comfortable with. You know, I wrote a song. I was just expressing myself. You know, what makes me happier than anything is when I get to like create those connections. You know, that's the whole appeal of music to me. Is just like expression and connection. So I do like when people are like, hey, you know, XYZ was important to me or helped me through this, really opened my eyes to thinking about things like this way. The only thing that can, like I said, become a bit much is when people take it kind of one step further and thank me as if I was literally like a person in their life. Because I think that kind of takes the credit away from, you know, they're doing all the hard work is what I always tell them. Like, you know, I'm just writing songs, I'm just playing breakdowns with my friends.
Okay, yeah. So I know we're running out of time very quickly, so I've just got 2 quick questions. First of all, putting together the set list for Australia. You talked before about putting together a set list that everybody's going to enjoy. Have you thought about the set list for Australia? And if so, can you give us a little bit of an indication of what it might look like?
We've definitely thought about it. We've talked about it a lot because it's our first time going there. But it's our first time going there, and we have 3 records, EPs. You know, we have a bunch of music to pick from, and we play first. You know, we probably have like a half-hour set, maybe. You know, and even then, I'm not sure. It could be 25 minutes. That's not a huge window to fit in, you know, 4 hours of music or whatever we have.
Yeah.
So we've been going back and forth a lot about what is or isn't going to make the cut. Obviously, we have to play new stuff because, you know, that's the most fun for us to play anyway is stuff off the new records, what we're most excited about. And also, I think the popularity of that record was probably a vehicle to us even getting an Australia offer in the first place. So it would feel silly to then not play any of those songs once we're over there. But I think we have a decent sense of loyalty to most of our material. You know, there's stuff that we're not going to play just because it's, even if we did, no one would care. But I'm not sure if I can name specific songs.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, we're still arguing about what is or isn't going to make the cut.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to be something like, you know, maybe 3-4 songs from the latest record, probably 2 songs from each other LP, and then maybe one from something else. We try to really make each set feel fluid, but also, I would hate for it to be someone's first time seeing us and them be disappointed because the one they really wanted to hear we didn't play. Like, that's always going to happen,
Yep.
but I'd like to avoid it as often as we can.
Definitely. Well, to finish off, what would you like to say to people out there who are going to be heading along to your Aussie shows?
Um, that I need good recommendations for food and coffee, specifically vegan food, because I don't know how you guys are about that stuff down there. Hopefully it's easy. Otherwise, I'll just be eating Oreos. That's fine too. Um, and also, if you do want to check us out, we play first, so you're going to have to get there early. I know that's a bummer. Uh, I don't know how Australia is about, Europe, people show up for the whole show. America, people show up for the band they want to see. So I don't know how you guys are about that, but, either way, come or don't, that's fine. We can still be friends.